Hello, everyone. I'm Cora, and today I am joined by Laylah Allen, the creator of the Coping Box, Project Coping Box, and I'm here to interview her to ask her some questions about it. So, first question, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm actually having a great Saturday morning. How
So, I'm
about you?
glad. Me too. I love coming in here, and I've been really excited to do this interview.
Oh, good news.
So, the first question I had for you is what inspired the creation of Project Coping Box?
So, before Project Coping Box, I was actually facilitating programming at a detention center here in Cleveland. And I was able to visit in person. But, when COVID kind of hit the scene, everybody was on, a lockdown. And that meant that me actually physically stopping by and visiting the youth had to come to a stop. With that, I had decided, like what can I do to be of some use of service since I'm staying in the home because I don't want to get my own children sick. I started a 30-day campaign on social media. Even if you go on Instagram now and you look up hashtag 31 days of coping, you'll see that for the month of August, we shared one new coping mechanism or coping skill that youth and their family could adopt into their everyday lives. Once that was done, it was like, so what's next? What do we do to follow up with that? And I came to the idea of physically placing these tools and resources directly into the hands of the youth instead of just talking about it on social media. And I don't know exactly how I came up with the name per se, but I decided Project Coping Box, and I hosted a few free community resource fairs, more so drive up style, allowing people to drive up, grab a coping box, and go. It was just an intention of just equipping the youth with different skills and resources, but it quickly has like turned into something so much more than I could have ever imagined that it would be.
Yeah, and that's amazing too, especially because, like you said, with the pandemic, you can't be in person anymore to really talk to people. And then, especially just even on like my mental health, the pandemic and the quarantine, it was so bad. So, the fact that you are able to bring something to these kids to help them cope is really amazing. And I'm really happy that it's like blown up to more things for you.
It's needed. And of course, when it comes to like statistical data of whether suicide rates and mental health rates, how they've been affected, how they've really been affected by COVID, they're still gathering that information, but it's almost undeniable. Like
Yeah.
with the kids that that I've worked with, and I mean, even in my own life, just like how you mentioned, like I see the difference. I know that there is a yearning for a connectivity, for some interaction, but then also I know there's a necessity for me to evaluate myself. And that's one of the cool things about the coping box is that it gives you the opportunity to experience what it's like to create space just for you, to really, really look into how you're feeling, expressing yourself through whether it's through journaling, um, but just creating that quality time that we all need to ourselves outside of additional interaction too. When you're able to be in tune with yourself, then you're in a better position to communicate with others as well.
Right. And that actually leads me to one of my other questions. What do you typically put in a coping box?
So coping boxes originally started with just things that I would personally use myself, and through just researching and looking up things that help or that cater to different senses, to our sensory needs. So things could include maybe a journal for writing, self-reflection. We now include journal prompts to give direction to the teens as well. You can have something that's kind of catering that give you a chance to manipulate something, kind of channel your energy into that. So with that, it could be whether it's silly putty. Sometimes we have scented little stress balls. Um, we've had bath bombs in there as well. Different types of tea, chamomile tea. We've included things for artistic expression. So the canvases, paint. I've had journals that are comic book journals where it encourages them to draw and write as well. The coping boxes, they've become something that have been, it's more customizable these days. Like for instance, I have University Hospital. There's a request for toddler coping boxes and teenage coping boxes. So the things for toddlers coping boxes might also include a little map with different emotions that they can build themselves, and they can use that to express themselves at later times. With the older kids, I tend to have things that lean more towards self-expression, reading as well. Another cool thing that's in pretty much every box for at least middle and high school students is our coping box workbook. The workbook literally, it further expands upon the things that are already in the box in terms of building up that vault of healthy coping skills. In the workbook, there is an activity on self-soothing where it teaches them about soothing yourself, whether that's physically or even mentally. The workbook also has a page that helps us to develop a crisis plan. What do you do when you're feeling certain emotions, or what do you do when you feel tempted to do something that you know you probably shouldn't do? Who do you identify, and who do you call? The crisis plan also helps you to identify potential triggers, and I think most importantly, what you feel like, recognizing when you have been triggered. So it kind of gets into being able to recognize, I don't know, sweaty palms, thinking about sometimes maybe your heart rate starts to go up. Also, I think another thing that the students tend to share is like their ears get warm sometimes. So just really, the workbook really gets them into thinking about themselves and developing that personal awareness of, oh no, I probably better get some help, or wait, maybe I need to disengage and just take a break and, I don't know, do this puzzle that's in my coping box. So what's inside, it literally depends on the organization or the company that it's being made for.
Okay. Yeah. And I really liked how you're talking about the workbook, because I know not just the youth, but like everybody, they can struggle to understand why they feel the way they do. So I think it's really awesome that you have like this kind of guide to be like, well, if you're feeling these things, here are some suggestions for what you can do to help it out. And I think, yeah, I think that's such an important thing to be doing, and especially to be bringing to the youth, because now more than ever, things have just been getting crazy and there's no way to kind of rein it in.
There's a sense of like no control.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us dealing with like ambiguity, the unknown, not knowing what's next or what's going to come. And we are living in unprecedented times. Things will never be the same. Like if you think about like with 9/11 and how that's affected the way, you know, people are going through the process to get on the plane or they're
Yeah.
checking us in certain ways. And then even now, the process of getting on the plane has been affected by COVID, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, but it's like a whole new world for us to deal with. So that's why there's that heightened necessity to determine like what skills work for us. Like how do we make our own little toolbox of things that we can use to be able to literally not even just survive, but to thrive. Because I mean, you guys are the future.
Right.
You guys to be here. Hopefully, you know, y'all will be holding the door for me when I'm leaving the grocery store, you know.
Right.
Hopefully we'll have a heart then at that time. So that's the whole point of it, just pouring into the youth so that they're able to continue to thrive.
Yeah, that's such an awesome message too. What for you so far has been the most rewarding part of Project Coping Box?
And the most rewarding part of Project Coping Box is, I guess this maybe is like two levels, but so with Project Coping Box, there's a curriculum that I facilitate with various schools. The most rewarding part of that is seeing the kids apply the things that they learn during our workshops without me even saying it. Like you just got it. Like it's in your heart, or at least it's in your mind. So being able to recognize that they're learning the concepts that we're providing or that we're introducing or that we're reinforcing, and they're actually applying it in real time. I love seeing the kids like hold each other accountable. I love seeing them being able to console one another. I love when they reference something from a previous workshop, but no, they said you can feel this way. All emotion is good. Just don't sit in it. You can experience it, but you do have to. So that's the most rewarding thing, is being able to see like that they're getting it and that they're applying it. Because then that
And,
means things are working.
and that it's connecting with them too. Yeah, that's so awesome. Because yeah, just being able to like that validation too of knowing what I'm bringing is actually helping somebody. They are actually retaining this information. That is so awesome. So you, I think you mentioned earlier too, but Project Coping Box, it's a part of a bigger
Yeah.
company, right?
So Project Open Box is clearly like my nonprofit's leading program, especially with the climate these days. But yeah, it's a program under a nonprofit, which is called the Missing Link, COPE Incorporated. The COPE, or the COPE, stands for Creating Opportunities for People Empowerment. That really resonates with everything that I do in the nonprofit, in my regular life, in my consulting business as well. It's just being able to see the light in individuals and helping them to see that, and then further illuminating it to help others. With the Missing Link COPE Incorporated, we do have a primary focus on positive youth development. So we're working with, I think the youngest is maybe like second grade up to age 19, providing them with different opportunities to build their self-confidence, to connect with others, to be able to practice pro-social skills, and of course, address trauma and develop healthy coping skills. And we do that through partnerships. So I think I mentioned before, there's a partnership with various schools in CMSD. We've worked with schools in Maple, Garfield, Warrensville as well. With the and then also I can't forget the juvenile detention center, because that's the absolute first place that I've ever worked with. And we also do have a host of annual free community events that I'm happy to be able to provide at least once a year. So for instance, when it's time to go back to school, we'll do our second annual Cope Weekend, which you guys should stop by and visit, sign up, register for that, because it's 3 days. There's one day, it's 3 days hosted in a garden setting. So we allow all of the students to go and walk through the garden. You're able to take greens, mint, whatever they have available there, you can take that home with you. And we also kind of play with our senses in that as well, by kind of testing out and seeing if everybody can figure out what is what. On the first day, there's healthy coping through artistic expression. So we'll have haiku writing, and we also had art. So there was painting and kind of making that connection with healthy coping and kind of sharing how that could be an outlet for some of us. It's all about getting the kids to explore and see what works and what doesn't work. Because I mean, for me, I like to hear like rain pouring outside. Some people are like, no, rain is annoying. So it's all about kind of getting everybody to figure out what they like. On the second day, there's healthy coping through physical movement. So there's yoga and then also self-defense. And self-defense is also being offered at the schools that we work with as well. And then the last day is just a resource fair where we connect the youth with other grassroots organizations. So those smaller organizations that everybody might not be familiar with, but they are really, they work very closely with the youth that they do encounter, because they're a lot smaller, so they can have that intimate connection. And we provide them with free coping boxes. And another annual event that we just did at the end of last year is our holiday giveaway for giving back. So we get a small group of students. I think this last year we probably had maybe 10. students to hop on a Zoom call and participate in a workshop about gratitude. So we talked about what is gratitude, how to express gratitude, and then we gave them an opportunity to give someone else an opportunity to experience gratitude. So they created these thinking of you cards for community members in East Cleveland, and we placed it on a giving tree. And then they receive little gifts for them participating as well. So we have some things that we try to, and then we're in the process of kind of expanding free coping boxes throughout the county, but like on a regular basis.
That sounds really exciting. So for the activity that you were talking about for back to school, is that in August usually?
Yep, it's usually in August. Either the weekend right before school starts or maybe 2 weekends before school starts. So Cope Weekend is just an opportunity for youth to get back in the practice of following directions, being around new people, you know, expressing themselves, and just experiencing community before they go to the community of their school. So it's not like a big shock of, oh my gosh, I have to sit in this chair for 50 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or I have to follow directions now. Like I gotta talk, I gotta share,
Have a
I gotta
schedule.
meet some friends, I gotta introduce myself. Like, so
Right.
yeah, the Cope Weekend is just an opportunity for them to get a little push and just kind of dip their toe in the water of expressing themselves and meeting people and just like connecting with people in person again, especially after us being like virtual for basically 2 years, 2 years
Yeah.
of our lives. We
2
got ninth
years.
graders that like been out since 7th grade. So it's the perfect opportunity to kind of get them back out there, and then it's outdoors. So it's a little bit more safer when we're thinking about like COVID and, being friendly in that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, the CLEanagers will definitely have to go to Cope Weekend because
That'll be nice.
it sounds awesome and right up our alley, especially because of how much we care about mental health and making sure that like it gets out there, that it matters and it's important. I think that's another thing that is really awesome with Project Coping Box is it's telling people mental health is important and it matters. And to like, yeah, just your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
You can deal with them like
Yeah.
this. Because there's always like, especially high school students are always under that pressure of you have to act like an adult while being treated like a kid.
That's very valid.
And so then that adds other mental stressors on it because it's like, well, am I allowed to feel these things? But
That's
yeah,
a pivotal point to be, a teenager, because I know there's like the natural urge to maybe challenge authority. You're starting to develop your own opinions on things. I would just say, just keep paying attention to yourself, pay attention to what brings you joy, pay attention to what brings you down, pay attention to how people react when you share like good news, how they react when you share bad news. I would just practice awareness in my teenage years and just see what you like and what you don't like. And then if you don't like something, see if you can change it. And if you can't change it, change the way you move around it.
yeah, that's great advice. So where can people find you?
Ooh, okay, so our website is www.themissinglinkcle.org. We're on Instagram, and I put that here. I don't know if this is going to be visual.
Yeah, it's showing up.
Oh, that's good. See, my Instagram is there at the Missing Link CLE. And we're on Facebook. You just type in the Missing Link Cope Incorporated. You'll be able to see us there. Try to be active. I would say for the month of January, the Missing Link, we are dedicating January to Celebration of Life Month. is a monthly, it's a celebration for the month of January, where we're reflecting on the past year, we're making plans for this year, and we're also being intentional. So this week is the first, well, I guess I'll go back to the first week. The first week was about just reflecting over the past year. What have we learned? What have we overcome? And then this past week, which was week 2, we focused on being intentional about taking mental breaks. So I had myself, a few community partners, some of the students that previously participated in Project Coping Box and some of our other programming, they shared how they're going to take mental breaks, how they're going to be intentional about doing things. And it doesn't literally have to be a quiet time. Your mental break could be doing nothing. I'm gonna do nothing. Like, that's my mental break. Your mental break could be spending time with other people. Your mental break could be doing something for someone else. It could be doing something for yourself. It could be a walk, anything you want, but just a time for you to take a break. The whole point of it is to make sure that we're intentional about including that, like, in our daily schedules. So you got to go to school. I don't know, maybe your mental break time will be when you get home. That's your time to watch funny cat videos. Whatever that break looks like, and then next week we're gonna move on with celebration of life and making our little bucket list of stuff that we wish we did last year, but we're gonna make sure that we do this year.
Awesome. I'll definitely be looking out for that on your social medias.
Yeah, I'll tag you guys.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today for this interview. This was really awesome. And I'm excited to do some of the annual activities that you were talking about with Project Coping Box.
I will have you guys invited.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laylah. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.